Are you sabotaging your own vitality without even realizing it? The very habits you think are healthy might be silently draining the one hormone that drives your energy, focus, and strength. Welcome, my friends. Professor Vitalis here with your daily dose of wisdom and wellness, where science and experience walk hand in hand. Today, we are going to tackle a profoundly important topic: how to raise your testosterone levels naturally. It is absolutely crucial that you stay with me until the very end of this discussion. I've analyzed the 12 most popular methods you read about online, and I've realized that if you do them incorrectly, you can do far more harm than good, or simply waste your valuable time. I will show you not only what works, but exactly how to do it right, and what pitfalls to avoid so you don't accidentally crash the very hormone you're trying to raise. Let's begin with one of the most talked about methods: abstinence from sex and masturbation. Does it work? Scientific studies say yes, but there's a very significant catch. In the short term, your testosterone levels do rise. However, after about 2.5 weeks of continued abstinence, those levels will begin to fall. While there are entire movements of people who advocate for this long term, modern medicine tells a different story. Regularity, whether natural or surrogate, is essential. Without it, you risk developing problems like congestive prostatitis, and your testosterone will ultimately decline. Next, sleep. Its importance is immense, not just for testosterone, but for a whole symphony of hormones. The key isn't just how much you sleep, but how well you sleep. You need good, deep quality sleep for a minimum of 7-8 hours. If you're only getting 6 hours or less, research shows your testosterone can plummet by as much as 20 to 25%. To be clear, sleeping for 10 hours a day won't cause your testosterone to accumulate like a charging battery. Rather, a deficit of sleep will actively lower it. Power naps of an hour or so during the day can certainly help offset a poor night's sleep and support your hormonal balance. The ideal scenario, of course, is to wake up naturally, without an alarm clock. But for most of us, with work and school, that's a luxury we can't afford. This is precisely why it's so important not to compromise in other areas of your life. This brings us to cardio. The advice to do lots of long cardio is a foolish one. In fact, prolonged, grueling cardio sessions will lower your testosterone. However, cardio can also be incredibly helpful. The type that has shown excellent results for boosting testosterone is high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. These workouts are short but very intense. Think sprinting with recovery periods. This approach not only boosts testosterone without causing psychological burnout, but it also triggers a hormonal afterburn effect that continues to benefit you throughout the day. So, if you run yourself into the ground for hours, your testosterone will not increase. But if your training is smart, moderate, and brief, it can be a powerful ally. What about all those marathon runners who look lean and strong? Well, marathon runners are a very specific group. They are often very lean, and that physique isn't attainable or even desirable for everyone. To run a marathon, you must structure your entire life, your diet, your schedule, around it. They are, for all intents and purposes, professional athletes. We're talking about regular, sustainable practices for the average person, things you can do 2 or 3 times a week as part of a healthy lifestyle. Let's talk about nutrition. You've probably heard you should choose foods rich in vitamin D, zinc, and magnesium. This is true, but only if you actually have a deficiency. Your body won't just start pumping out more testosterone from an excess of these nutrients if it doesn't need them. It just doesn't work that way. However, if you are deficient, and a severe vitamin D deficiency can slash your testosterone by a staggering 40, 50, or even 60%, then correcting that deficiency will absolutely help restore your levels. And what about herbs like ashwagandha? This is an adaptogen and a very interesting one. Does it work? Yes. For the average person, a daily dose of around 300 milligrams can indeed raise testosterone by 20 to 30%. Adaptogens like ashwagandha or ginseng work by mobilizing the body's resources, encouraging all of your endocrine organs to function more actively. But a word of caution: this is not a magic cure. If you have a serious medical condition, you must see a doctor. However, as a small bonus, it can be useful. The key is to use it in cycles. You can't sit on adaptogens for years. A typical cycle is 6 to 8 weeks, followed by a break of at least the same duration. Continuous use will cause your body to stop responding, and you might even experience a crash when your system becomes exhausted. Which brings me to an interesting point. Many people say a supplement worked based on how they feel, but ashwagandha can give you a feeling of alertness by stimulating your nervous system, even if your testosterone hasn't changed. That's why blood tests are so important. And even then, results can be tricky as levels fluctuate. It's crucial to test under your normal living conditions, not after a 2-week vacation where you did nothing but relax. I'd be genuinely interested to read your experiences in the comments. Have you tried any of these methods? What did your lab results show, not just your feelings? Sharing our collective knowledge helps us all. Now for strength training. Yes, a person who engages in strength training will have a different, healthier endocrine profile than someone who doesn't. But I see so many athletes who train 5 or 6 times a week for hours at a time, and they're simply broken down. They don't have the resources to recover. The key is finding the golden mean. For a natural athlete, more is almost always worse. It drives you into a state of endocrine stress. Don't try to live in the gym. Aim for 3 or at most 4 intense but short workouts per week, lasting about an hour to 90 minutes. This next one should be obvious. Give up alcohol. Alcohol is poison, and I would add smoking, drugs, and even excess sugar to this list. They offer nothing of value and cause significant harm. The old idea that a glass of wine a day is healthy has been debunked. The scientific consensus has changed. There is no safe dose of alcohol. A tiny amount on a rare occasion might not have a noticeable effect, but regular consumption, even in small amounts, will cause your endocrine system to tank. Let's discuss stress. You must learn to minimize stress and practice relaxation techniques, like meditation. Your nervous system and your endocrine system are deeply intertwined, a field we call neuroendocrinology. Emotional distress and fatigue trigger a cascade of bad hormones. When you're stressed, your cortisol and prolactin rise, you lose your desire for sex, and your testosterone falls. The real challenge is learning to distinguish between physical and psychological fatigue. If you are physically exhausted after a long day of surgery or a sleepless night, going to the gym will only do more damage. Your testosterone will plummet. Go home, eat well, read a book, and rest. But if you are merely mentally drained, a good workout can be the perfect cure, shifting your focus and rebooting your system. What about losing excess weight? This is absolutely critical. The connection works both ways. Excess fat lowers testosterone, but low testosterone can contribute to weight gain. When you lose weight, you do it by eating better and moving more, habits which, by themselves, make you a healthier person. Your diet improves, your sleep improves, your vitamin levels improve. But the excess fat itself is also an enemy. I remember a colleague who would ask his overweight clients to write down 10 good things their extra weight had given them in life. They could never write anything. Excess weight is the enemy of a healthy life and a healthy testosterone level. On the topic of diet, intermittent fasting, where you eat within a specific window of time, can actually increase testosterone. But chronic caloric restriction, like in an anorexic state, is catastrophic. Your body will go into energy-saving survival mode. It won't care about building muscle or reproduction. It will care about survival. It will lower your testosterone, kill your energy, and make you feel miserable. Your diet must be a proper nutritional plan that meets your goals, not a starvation contest. And what about all those testosterone-boosting foods like nuts, onions, or turmeric? This goes back to my earlier point. Most of these foods are recommended because they contain zinc, magnesium, or healthy fats. If you are deficient, they will help. If you are not, adding a mountain of fat to your diet will only help you raise the notch on your belt. Turmeric is an exception, as it can act as an adaptogen, much like ashwagandha. Finally, a simple but powerful tool I sometimes use, the contrast shower. It's truly beneficial for your endocrine system as long as you do it correctly and regularly. The temperature changes should be sharp and the duration controlled. If you're new to this, start gently, perhaps just with cool water sponging. Then, you can gradually increase the temperature difference and the time. Don't just jump under an icy stream on day 1 and end up sick for 2 weeks. Do everything with intelligence. And speaking of topics that are critically important but often misunderstood, in our next session, we're going to tackle what I call the king of all questions, the duration of intercourse and the challenge of premature ejaculation. We'll look at the problem that damages relationships, examine the science behind it, and discuss which modern methods are truly effective and which are a waste of your time. Knowledge only works when you apply it. I'm Professor Vitalis. Stay curious, stay healthy, and never stop learning.